morning and welcome. My name is Ann Earhart and I'm the Director of Sustainability for Michigan State University. I'd first like to thank you all for participating in today's conversation with the President about MSU's energy future. This annual event provides not only information about MSU's energy infrastructure and the steps the university is taking to advance its energy goals. Additionally, and even more importantly, it's an event that provides an opportunity for you, the community, to have ask questions, have a dialogue, and have some feedback on this process. Today I'll be serving as your moderator, and I'll begin with brief opening remarks, and then I'll open up to the floor for questions. If you are in the audience and you want to have some questions, there are some note cards. Hopefully you picked up one or two. You write down the question, hold it up, and pass it down at the end, and one of our staff members will pick it up. Also, we are webcasting this event, so you can also tweet your questions to hashtag MSU Energy. Those questions will also be handed to me. I also have some questions that we received in advance of this event, and those are also in play. So let me now begin the program by introducing our panelists with a brief bio. Dr. Luanna K. Simon is the 20th president of Michigan State University, who leads the university's work to advance the common good in Michigan and around the world. An MSU graduate, she began her career at Michigan State after earning her doctorate in 1974. From there, she moved into a variety of administrative roles, including assistant provost for general academic administration, associate provost, and provost and vice president for academic affairs. The MSU Board of Trustees appointed her president in January 2005. Thank you, President Simon. Dan Bollman is the associate vice president for strategic infrastructure planning and facilities. His most recent previous position was director of planning, design, and construction, where he was responsible for all estimating, design, and construction activities on campus related to construction of new facilities, renovations, maintenance and repair, and infrastructure and landscape. Next to him is Dr. Richard Royal Lunt, who is an assistant professor of chemical engineering and material science at Michigan State University. Dr. Lunt has worked extensively in the field of organic and molecular crystalline growth and exotonic electronics for over a decade, and he is a co-founder of Ubiquitous Energy Incorporated, which is commercializing a range of technologies that enable seamless deployment of light harvesting functionality in the form of products and surfaces. Next to him is T.J. Kanczuzewski, who is a founding member and president of Inovateus Solar LLC. That's Inovateus Solar LLC, and has been with the company since 2007. TJ has been instrumental in growing a world-class team that has successfully deployed solar energy projects and products both in the U.S. and internationally. And finally, on the end, we welcome back Garrick Rochow, who is the Vice President of Customer Experience, Rates and Regulation, and Quality for Consumers Energy. He is the principal subsidiary of CMS Energy. Mr. Rochow is responsible for all customer experience and satisfaction. He's also responsible for budget planning, regulatory strategy, rate case preparation, proceedings, and the company's relationship with Michigan Public Service Commission, as well as the company's quality initiative. So we have an excellent panel for you today, and we'd like to have Dr. Simon start with opening comments.
Well, thank you very much. Every day, MSU faculty, staff, and students conduct life-altering and world-renowned research on campus, including the issues of energy and energy consumption. Assuring a reliable and cost-effective energy for the campus is crucial to fulfilling MSU's mission to advance knowledge and transform lives. And it's also important in our role as really being a demonstration project for many cities and areas of our size and complexity. One of the most difficult challenges now is how to reliably do that, recognizing the growing needs of our community as it relates to things like all the electronics that we're now carrying around and need to be charged and upgraded. Last year, the major announcement of this conversation was that we would no longer be burning coal by the end of 2016, and now we have met that goal as a part of what was the energy transition plan, because it was really focused a lot on sustainability and the use of coal. So that's a great achievement, a marker for this year, and a critical step in looking at all of the goals that were part of the energy transition plan. That switch to natural gas, we've reduced our greenhouse emissions, allowing us to surpass our 2015 goal of reduction target of more than 30%. And solar is now the new piece, with the board approving the plan to create 5 solar carport locations on campus as part of this energy work in terms of our energy portfolio. And this is just one part of thinking about a long-term strategy to be more cost-effective and have more reliable power supply, but also recognizing that gas is also a non-renewable input. We'll talk, and the people will talk more about those projects today. When I think about the energy transition plan and all of those conversations, and let's not burn coal anymore part of that, there were many other parts of that plan that included the Better Building Challenge and looking at facilities, as well as simply the issue of consumption. And that conservation is now our biggest challenge. And maybe it's time to change the title of the report from energy transition to energy conservation. Because as we think about the future and what we need to do, we've now begun with the work of Vice President Upta and Dr. Bauer to really, along with Dan and his team, to optimize the generation of our energy sources for the campus. And we'll continue to do that optimization. But the question of consumption is really very, very difficult. As we think about over a generation, we've more than doubled our need for kilowatts. And as I think about moving students into residence halls with all of the devices that they now come with that need to be plugged in simultaneously in order to do their work, we have much to do to think about turning them off, or what we think about our energy consumption, because now we're looking at a factor of 5 in that regard. And there's no end to the way in which electronics will influence our lives. So we just need to be a place that not only is worried about energy generation, but energy consumption. And that will be the challenge, I think, for the 21st century, and one that, as we think about our new energy conservation plan, we need to really work on as a community. And as we think about Earth Day on April 22nd, it's a very good time to really renew our campus commitment to those issues of consumption.
Thank you. And before we go down the row, I want to not let the moment pass that MSU is no longer burning coal. That was in her announcement. So with that, we'd like to commemorate the moment by presenting, it's just like Christmas, a lump of coal to President Simon, commemorating the last coal.
Thank you. The coal was never mine, really. So.
So to follow on what President Simon's comments, as MSU looks to the future and our energy planning, it's really shaped by the need to meet a number of simultaneous issues. We have rising costs, we have aging infrastructure, tightening regulations, and the need to really increase our renewable portfolio. So if you think of the solar array project, or even the switch from coal to natural gas, these are really just parts of a multifaceted approach in our attempts to really ensure continued reliability, reduce emissions, and really continue to invest in energy conservation and energy efficiency programs. So currently today, the T.B. Simon Power Plant can reliably meet all the peak energy demands for campus. But if we look to the future just a little bit, and we look at the growth of research that we're projecting and that we're actually implementing, we need to do more. If you think about the facility for rare isotope beams as an example, that project alone is going to add another 18 to 20 megawatts of demand to our campus. So one solution for that was to partner with Consumers Energy, and we're in the process of constructing a new substation that'll create an important link between the Consumers Energy grid and our campus power plant. That really has 3 benefits. It'll improve the reliability of the plant because it'll have an important backup for us in case we have a problem. It'll also make sure that we can reliably provide energy to the effort project. And probably most importantly, it's going to allow us to optimize our plant in ways that we've never been able to do before. We'll be able to continue to generate energy when it's most cost efficient to do that. When it's not quite as cost efficient to use the cogeneration, we'll be able to purchase from consumers. So that's kind of a win for everybody. Another thing we're working on is we're focusing on the T.B. Simon Power Plant. The plant's over 50 years old now, and a lot of the equipment within the plant is beginning to reach the end of its useful life. So we're undergoing a master plan that's really going to create a framework for decision-making that's going to allow us to ensure that that plant is viable for the next 20 years. So as we replace some of that existing equipment, we'll be able to do that with the latest technology and take into account the latest trends in energy and make sure that we're viable into the future. With all this change in the energy picture, it's still important that we meet the needs of campus today, and we're a little bit vulnerable there. If you just look at the power outage from last week, you know that our system is only as good as its weakest link. So this just reinforces to me the need to continue to collaborate, to look to research, to look to our business partners, to partner with our faculty and staff and students, and ensure that we come up with new and better sustainable solutions for now and in the future.
Great. So I just want to thank Anne for inviting me to be on this panel. I want to start off by highlighting that one of the goals of the Energy Transition Plan is to invest in sustainable energy research and development. And I want to just highlight the multifaceted approach that we're taking here at MSU to address this challenge by combining world-class research, energy infrastructure enhancements, as well as student participation. So MSU has already recognized that to reach our energy goals and greenhouse gas emission targets requires not only new technologies, but a contribution to the development of these new technologies. And I think the research that's going on in our laboratory is actually a good example of this support. And we're actually working on developing a new type of solar cell that's completely clear and can allow us to re-envision how and where we deploy solar energy technologies. And so this is, I brought one of these. If you're interested, you can come up and take a look at these afterwards. But by making these kinds of solar cells, we can save not only on the module costs, but we can also change the cost structure for installation. And once you realize you can make solar panels that are completely clear and highly efficient, it really sparks your imagination, and you can start to think about installing this anywhere. So in windows, in tall buildings, electric cars, and mobile electronics. So they could really be installed all around us without even knowing that they're there, turning our solar farms into solar cities. So we've started a company that's working on commercializing this technology, as Anne mentioned, and they're working on bringing it to market. And MSU and MSU Technologies have both played an important role in the development as well as the technology transfer. So that's been really important to us. And now we're working together to actually develop plans for showcases across MSU within the next few years. MSU has really had a long history of innovative energy technologies that includes not only new kinds of solar cells, but also new kinds of thermoelectric materials, biofuels, biodigesters, fuel cells, and energy-efficient engines, just to name a few. And so MSU has long taken a leadership role in energy-related research. And these efforts really actually extend beyond just research. We've been developing new academic programs related to energy, as well as new ways to engage student participation. We're now offering minors in energy as well as entrepreneurship that will better prepare students to solve challenges in renewable energy. And so these are really exciting programs. We're really looking forward to them. The entrepreneurship minor is actually now offered. We'll be offering the energy minor come the fall. So through the Office of Sustainability, we've also engaged students in actively working on these challenges. And this past year, we held the first solar PV competition at MSU that led to a number of solar innovations that were quite exciting. We've also supported a number of student organizations that are investigating energy technologies, including Sparta, which is the Students Planning Advanced Retrofit Technologies and Applications. It's a bit of a mouthful. This student organization, which I helped to advise, is actually working to assess and retrofit buildings across MSU with renewable energy technologies and energy-saving technologies that are available today. And so this, too, is an exciting program that's actually allowing students to become active members, get involved, and actually learn how to apply science and engineering principles to actually make a difference and to make campus more sustainable. So through this program, we've actually already mentored over 20 students. So MSU is really serious about making an impact here at campus and around the world.
Thanks. It's an honor to be here and to be part of this panel discussion. Our purpose at Inovateus Solar is to build a brilliant tomorrow. And just being a part of this panel discussion and the energy transition here at MSU allows us an opportunity to truly be helping build a brilliant tomorrow. Just the presentation of the last lump of coal, is a...
Actually, we should put it over next to the solar panel as the...
Okay, all right, there you go.
Put it together.
It's obviously, it's just very exciting for us to be...
Right, there you go.
There we go.
That's a visual.
That's a brilliant tomorrow right there. We're working with the university on a 13 megawatt carport installation that's going to be set up in 5 different locations, and we're looking to get it kicked off very shortly here. But we at Inovateus Solar get to meet a lot of companies and universities and utilities that look at solar energy as a transition. And a lot of them, talk the talk, but here at Michigan State, the university is walking the walk and actually doing something pretty big. It's going to have a big impact, not just in the Midwestern United States, but this is going to have an impact on how universities across the country and worldwide look at solar energy. And so it's just really an amazing thing. It's great to be a part of it. And I don't think this is not just going to have an impact on like universities and utilities, but this is going to help push corporations and individuals to understand solar energy and to move it forward. The fact that these solar carports are going to be in student and faculty parking lots, the students and faculty members are going to see solar panels, every day when they go to their cars. So they're going to get more of a touch and feel type of interaction with the solar panels. So the installation that we're doing, we're working with the university here. It's going to generate a little over 15,000 megawatt hours of electricity annually. And it's with the solar carport installation here, we're actually helping kind of revolutionize the way that carports are installed, but also the way that the solar energy systems are monitored. And there's a team here on campus that's already working on setting up monitoring stations around the university that sort of tracks when clouds are coming by, and it's collecting that information in real time and passing along to the team kind of running the power plant here. So that those studies and those technologies are going to help the industry as well. Inovateus Solar got started in 2008. We were originally part of Inovateus Development, which that got kicked off around 2005, 2006, but since then, we've seen the cost of solar energy come down about 80% in terms of installations. And so we're seeing that happen on this project as well. And as we've heard, the technologies are improving, and a university like Michigan State is helping push technologies further. So 8 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, the technologies that we'll be talking about will be, monumentally different than what we're using today.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here with this distinguished panel, and certainly appreciate the invitation from President Simon. Like MSU, Consumers Energy has been in Michigan for a long time and played an important role in the prosperity of Michigan. For us, nearly 130 years. It's a commitment to our state and to our customers to provide safe, reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy. That's a commitment to our customers and to the state for the next 130 years. Demonstrated through sustainability goals and company actions, we're striving to incorporate it in our daily decision-making at Consumers Energy, ultimately to enable our customers' quality of life. For example, we're closing 7 of our older coal-fired units this month, reducing a 25% reduction in our carbon footprint, as well as a 40% reduction in air emissions. We've been also doing a lot of work in the renewable energy space. And let me be clear, because many in this room recognize that there is a 10% renewable energy standard in Michigan, that what we're doing at Consumers Energy goes above and beyond that standard. We've recently entered into a long-term purchase power agreement with Geronimo Energy for 100 megawatts of clean, renewable wind energy, again, above and beyond the state's requirement. It's a new build in Huron County, and it'll be operational within the next year, clearly demonstrating our commitment to renewable energy at the utility and supporting a Michigan-first approach that keeps costs low and also provides our customers with zero carbon energy. After hearing more from our customers, and I appreciate your comment on driven by market dynamics, we've heard a lot more in terms of solar and developed really the first of its kind utility scale community solar programs here in Michigan. Known as Solar Gardens, it's an opportunity for our residential and business customers to have affordable solar energy, enjoying the benefits of scale that the utility offers without maintaining panels on their own property. Our first 2 plants are under construction and located in West Michigan, and we're working on a third potential location here in the greater Lansing area. And I'm pleased to announce that on April 18th, the first of those 2 plants will go into service, providing clean solar energy to Michigan's residents and businesses. And to continue to meet the growing customer demand, we're also developing a new program dedicated to much of our large customers who have an increased commitment to renewable energies, as some as much as 100%. This new program will result in 100 to 150 megawatts of new dedicated wind generation that will deliver value to our customers, specifically in the attributes of renewable energy, but also the possibility of an energy price hedge. More directly related to MSU, we are pleased to play a role in the university's transition to cleaner energy resources, providing the natural gas that will replace the use of coal at the TB Simon power plant. It's an important change because natural gas is a cleaner way to generate electricity. In fact, natural gas produces 50% less air emissions than coal and is also significantly less expensive. By switching from coal to natural gas, the university will be doing its part to protect the environment and reduce operational cost. Another project we're working on with MSU is the Spartan substation, which Consumers Energy is pleased to build to help the university meet its future electric needs, as Dan Bollman spoke of. The substation will replace an existing substation near the Simon plant, providing primary power to the facility for rare isotope beams and backup power to the entire campus. The effort project, due to be complete in 2022, is expected to boost MSU's academic profile and serve as a catalyst for economic development. The energy of the substation will move toward cleaner natural gas resources as well as a renewable energy portfolio. It's a major project and one that we're really proud to be a part of. Michigan's energy future will certainly look different. It's being changed by technology, as we heard today, regulations, and customer needs. And there's a lot of things I haven't talked about today in terms of energy efficiency, conservation, demand response, enabled by smart meter technology, or even the partnership with MSU on battery technology. But it's these types of commitments, it's these type of examples that together with organizations like MSU, Consumers Energy is embracing change and doing what we can do to make a difference today to support a sustainable tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Now we're going to start the question and answer part of this seminar, this session. Again, if you have a question, you can write it on a card. If you need a card, raise your hand, pass them down to the end, and someone will pick those up. Also, you can tweet your questions to hashtag MSU Energy, and we'll also capture them that way. I do have some questions we received yesterday on our website, and it is perfect for many of the comments that were made. I'm going to paraphrase just a little bit. And this would be for Dr. Lunt, President Simon, Dan Bollman. Actually, anybody I'm interested can answer the question. We know that MSU has significant solar research around energy happening on campus. Which is being done by students and professors. How can we incorporate this type of research into a long-term plan for MSU? Dr. Lunt, you mentioned a couple different examples, and I know there's also a partnership on a storage project. So maybe talk about a couple of those projects, and then maybe we can talk about how they might impact some of our operations on campus.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's really important because we're doing really exciting research. The goal is to really transition it into the market and actually see it make an impact. I think the way that MSU is set up, and in particular, the way that we have MSU technologies configured actually really helps enable this. So we've created partnerships with a number of different companies, and MSU Technologies has actually really helped us to bridge that gap and help create sponsored research agreements and product development agreements. And so I think that part of MSU is playing a really important role to really make this possible. And so this helps us not only to develop the technology, but now creates this network where they license the technology and then bring it to market. And so I think that's sort of an important bridge. And I think that has really been recognized, and MSU Technologies has been really fantastic in really enabling that transition.
Let me comment a bit on the ecosystem to build on that. For our faculty, staff, and students with really great ideas who want to scale them up to the marketplace, we have to go through this business development process because that protects the IP, it protects the ideas. On the other hand, once that starts in this ecosystem, then the idea is that Michigan State would become its own demonstration project, contracting back with this activity, because in the next stage of a startup, it's not just an idea and a company, it's how it really works in real life. And Michigan State can provide then the ecosystem to be able to take that idea, apply it to our buildings, apply it to a part of campus, and be able then to get the next set of data that will show that this idea is not simply a good idea on paper or a good idea that a company might buy but then put on the shelf, because a lot of ideas get put on the shelf by companies, but that they can really be used in real life, and we can demonstrate then how it bends the curve in the work we do, because it's more than just the windows, it's the grid, it's the technology to switch, it's the storage, and all those part of that ecosystem are what Michigan State's transition plan on the research side was designed to do, to be the demonstration project, not simply for the plant, but for all the ideas that might come forward.
And just in terms of that ecosystem, companies like Consumers Energy Business Partners play a role in that. And the dynamic nature of solar and wind, it's intermittent by nature. And so battery storage is an important piece of that. Also, it's distributed in nature. And so when we can have great partnerships, and in the first part of April, we introduced a partnership on battery technology. We're working over the next 2 years with Michigan State University in a partnership to explore distributed battery storage. And that's going to be a key to the electric grid for the future, given these intermittent nature of renewable resources and how we continue to provide safe and reliable power for all our customers.
Right. And distributed battery storage is not simply important for the really big things, but it's important for technology like the glass panel, because you'll need to be able to store and distribute energy in smaller spaces in buildings and parts of buildings, depending on what happens with this kind of technology. So it all fits together. If you think about the ecosystem, it may seem a little bit disconnected as you read through the website, but it's sort of thinking about it in broader pieces, and then using the power of the university, our faculty, staff, to tie it together and be that demonstration.
A question we just received, and we had a question yesterday also similar to that for President Simon and Dan Bollman. First of all, President Simon, what is your vision for how academic and operational units on campus can come together to advance energy goals? And I'm going to dovetail that with a question we just received, because it kind of is specific to that, about how the university is considering behavior change. And I know that's kind of what we do every day, but it's a big question.
Well, I think that I rely on not only Dan, but Vice President Upta and his team to provide the sort of the thinking about this issue every day in terms of the university and its process, and our leadership team. And the ecosystem is really tying together people across campus in interdisciplinary conversations and trying to incentivize those conversations so that people don't simply come to explain what their unit's doing, but to learn about others and try to apply new ideas in different ways, and to take the risk of experimentation. And I think we've done that. The anaerobic digester, as an example, is one of those things that doesn't get much attention now, but was part of a bigger conversation 3 years ago. And I think it's just that natural evolution. On the consumption side, it's really about culture and what we do together. Now, the Better Building Challenge that we're still a part of was designed to look at the physical and built environment, because we've paid a lot of attention about generation, but not that's an important piece about how we think about when we change windows, when we change lights, what's the best pattern for doing that and getting ahead of the curve. And there's also then the conversations that have to occur about what is an individual responsibility by all of us to contribute to the energy footprint of the campus. And what I hope is that once the coal question has gone away, with its last piece, that we can then turn to that in a much more deliberative fashion, because up until that moment, when things are optimized by generation, it's easy to point to that piece as the big problem. Now that that's gone away with all of these changes, we now are able, I think, to focus internally on the culture of the campus and to see how green the community wants to be.
Thank you. Question we've gotten numerous times relative to natural gas. Now, it's definitely momentous that we are no longer burning coal, and we're on to our power plant is all natural gas at this point, but that comes with benefits, also comes with risks. Does someone on the panel want to speak to that question?
I think I'll try and let Garrick chime in too. You know, if we look at switching to natural gas, you can look at it kind of that, okay, now we only have one fuel source instead of two. But we've really looked hard at the natural gas supply with Consumers Energy. We've done a lot of things to beef up our natural gas. And as Garrick pointed out earlier, it's a cheaper solution, but it's also a very reliable solution. And we've done things to the system to make sure it's reliable. We've added a redundant gas main to ensure that we had gas feeds from multiple locations to enter campus. Consumers also has one of the largest underground storage systems for natural gas, I think, in the country. And that ensures that we're going to have reliable gas well into the future. And then the final thing we're doing is we're able to hedge the purchase of natural gas out 2, 3, and 4 years. And that really stabilizes the purchase, and it allows us to budget in a very consistent manner over time.
I think that if you look at the energy needs of the campus, with today's technology and the technology that's envisioned at scale over the next 5 to 10 years, there is not a very good alternative to the use of natural gas, with the exception of nuclear generation. And so, you know, the consumers is going to buy more wind. I mean, we're going to make gradually, so what's bought through the substation is going to essentially be greener by definition. So the green component is going to go up by what we buy through a greener production. But our volume is such that we're going to have to look at consumption as a way of bending that curve in the near term to reduce the consumption of gas, while we look at solar and other alternatives over a longer arc.
I would agree with this. What President Simon had to offer there. Certainly, natural gas is a cleaner source than coal. But as I shared in some of my opening comments, the utilities are certainly, as the price of renewable energy becomes more competitive, we're certainly pursuing that, and it's making up a greater portion of our portfolio. So as we deliver to your home, to your business, to a university like this, has a greater percentage of renewable energy, and that continues to increase daily in some of the examples that I provided. You know, certainly Dan talked about the reliability of natural gas. It's something we have a lot of pride in providing safe, affordable, and reliable natural gas. And certainly that's the fuel that will provide, as President Simon indicated, a bulk of the electric production here at least over the midterm. And so certainly as a utility, we certainly support the efforts as more and more companies consider, and organizations like MSU consider renewable energy, and certainly that's how we're approaching it from a utility perspective.
Great, thank you. Question, I mean, definitely renewable energy source is the energy we never use. I mean, that kind of speaks to it. It's not a product or an item to put on a building, but it's definitely something that impacts our demand. A question we have, and I'm going to ask the question and then I'm going to kind of narrate just a little bit. So the question was, given the timeline that MSU has a vision for 100% renewables by 2050, which we're working towards, and we know we can continue to move forward on that goal, that vision, but only to a certain extent, where, as President Simon mentioned, you know, there's a gap in technology and where we are. So a question, I'm going to frame that question to our solar experts on the panel. Is solar that innovation that's going to potentially bridge that gap?
I'll let you start. Okay. I mean, I definitely think solar is a big part of the technology that's going to bridge that gap. One thing that's really going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be really interesting, is the energy storage technology is going to continue to improve, and solar is a great source of energy that you can then store. And some of the challenges we have today with solar is that it works when the sun's out. You can have cloudy environments, or at nighttime, solar energy is not working very well. So the storage component is going to take solar to the next level. You see companies like Tesla being able to combine the two. And obviously there's a lot of research going on right now. And at our company, we're getting involved in some very interesting storage projects. So I think storage plus solar is really going to help take it to the next level. So it could be a really big chunk of that in 2050. But as technologies continues to change, I'll let you speak on that.
If you look at the potential of solar, it's one of the few renewable energy sources that actually has the potential to power the whole world many thousands of times. Mm-hmm. So there is a lot of potential there. And I completely agree that it's going to be a major role. But I think we'll always have a mix. So I think wind, geothermal, a lot of these renewable energy, different renewables will play a role in sort of the whole picture. And I think developments in new kinds of battery technology will enable the storage, because that's actually key for not only solar, but also wind and some of these other ones. And so I think we'll see a mix going forward, but solar will definitely play a very big role.
The Energy Transition Plan was built on the assumption that there's no silver bullet to this, that it requires work on multiple fronts, and it requires us to integrate that work into an ecosystem that reinforces and is geared towards reducing our carbon footprint, however that happens. And obviously, if you look at what we've announced, the plans moving forward in the 0 to 5 year time frame, you can see that there's experimentation, supportive research, other things we're doing with our partners to have a greener portfolio. And that work just has to be persistent and consistent over time in order to achieve that goal, and then to be part of the revolution of the new technology. Recognizing, if anybody had the experience last week of the power on campus, the damage to the intellectual infrastructure of a power outage for people's life work is really significant. And that has to be balanced against the experimentation, because our role in life is to generate that knowledge. And if we take a risk with that on the power side because we're not reliable enough, or on the cost side because we're then charging students and taking money away from experimentation and research, we've not fulfilled our role. So the Energy Transition Plan was an effort to balance all of that out, and in this persistent and consistent way of striving to move that needle on our environmental footprint.
Just one last thought on that. Like what I've seen in terms of the changes in technologies and implementation of solar energy over the last 10 years, I mean, I'm a pretty optimistic person, and I've been surprised by how far we've come in 10 years. So looking out to 2050, I mean, I'm optimistic about the next 10 years, but looking, 30 plus years out, I mean, things are going to change more than we know or understand today. So it's going to be really exciting to see what happens. But again, I do think it's going to be a mix, and solar will be a big part of it.
Okay. One question for Dan. What steps are being taken to ensure that campus expansion, MSU is investing heavily in new research facilities, which are amazing, by the way, and new on-campus construction to make sure that it's sustainable and energy efficient?
Well, we've touched on some of the things we're doing, but probably the biggest thing is we have a pretty detailed set of construction standards that it's a living document, and we constantly evolve those standards with latest technologies. We focus on leader in energy efficient design, and all of those criteria are embedded in our standards to ensure that we're using the latest sustainable technologies. And then we partner with the research side of campus to try to integrate in a reliable way any new technologies that are available depending on the project.
Thank you.
If I could add to that too, I would just say give kudos to the university here. They've had over 77 projects associated with utility and energy rebates, energy efficiency rebates. We hold them up as a high standard when we're talking with other customers about some of their approach to energy efficiency. Have done really remarkable things.
All right. I have one last question for President Simon, and I know I've heard you speak about this, so it would be interesting for this panel. The question is, how are student costs or fees going to be affected by changes to our energy plan in the next 5 to 10 years? And I understand that's a completely loaded question.
Well, I mean, obviously, if you look at a budget and you can go onto the website, and the projection of utility costs are one very transparent piece of the budget. It's typically been projected at about 5%, which is more than our input from the state and more than what people would like for tuition. So it requires constantly moving that number down through a variety of more dramatic as well as smaller things. And it does affect us because we're 75% tuition on the general fund.
All right. We are nearing the end of today's hour-long event, and I'd like our panelists to have time to provide brief closing remarks as we conclude. I also will say, as we conclude, all of them will be available for a few moments afterwards if you have questions that were not answered. You can also contact our office, and we will respond to that question. So we'll begin with Garrick and work back this way.
Yeah, thanks for the time today at Consumers Energy. We are very proud to be producing renewable energy really since the turn of the century, since with some of the hydro plants that have dotted Michigan's rivers for over 100 years. As we look forward to the future, we're developing new and innovative ways to keep our lights on and our homes warm. And that's investing in clean and renewable energy and running programs to help Michigan's homes and businesses, ultimately our customers within the state. And I'm proud to say more today than ever, more of our energy is produced by environmentally friendly and naturally replenished resources, including biomass, hydro, wind, and solar, more than ever before. And working on consumption as well. Our customers have saved over 1 billion with a B since 2009 with some of our energy efficiency and energy optimization programs. And we're doing that here at MSU to help reduce the carbon footprint and partner with the university on new and emerging technologies, that ecosystem that President Simon spoke of. We're pleased to be a partner in this, and we're pleased to serve the communities of Michigan. Thank you.
It's been an honor to be a part of this panel discussion, and an honor as well to work with the university on a groundbreaking solar energy project. And even though we haven't started construction yet, which we are going to start very soon, we already see the impacts of the statement that MSU has made. Just last night I was at the University of Notre Dame and talking to some of their leaders at the university there, and talked a little bit about the project here at Michigan State. And it really sparked their interest, and they've thought about doing some solar. But the fact that Michigan State is actually doing it, making it happen, it's going to, I think, really push Notre Dame forward and other universities. So Michigan State is being a leader on that front, and it's exciting for me and for our company to get to see that firsthand. And definitely, we see a lot of really excited, interested people in the project and the technologies, and we hope to continue to push that forward. And any questions that anybody has about solar energy or projects that we have done or ways that it could be implemented within the state of Michigan or around the Midwest, I'm free to answer any of those questions. Thank you.
So I just want to reiterate that I think it is a really exciting time to be at MSU and to be a Spartan. Whether you're faculty, staff, or students, I think this is a really great time to be here. And MSU is really dedicated to these energy goals and really making an impact. Innovations are really taking place across campus, and students and faculty alike are really engaged to try to help solve this grand challenge. I would say ultimately Spartans will.
I just want to add, reliability is king. As President Simon mentioned, the impact to campus and our mission is real if we can't provide reliable, sustainable power. So we need to look to our partners and our research community to really continue to push the envelope, but do it in a reliable, responsible manner.
Well, I think that if you look back on the arc of the energy transition plan, we benefited from lots of voices coming together and trying to do a multiple goal of reliability, cost effectiveness, and being green. And that's really the secret in any kind of major grand challenge work, is to find and do it with ands and not ors, and to have a community that's committed to ands and not ors. So, and as we move forward with all of this work, you'll see in this budget a little bit of reduction because of the infrastructure commitments we've made. This could probably bounce backing up to the 5% in the out years. All those things have to be looked at over the long arc of an institution because we're in it for the long run. And it takes all of us to make a difference. And so every individual Spartan, no matter where you are in whatever MSU space, whether you're in an experiment station across the state using electricity, everybody needs to do their part to be green on the consumption side, and as you think about what we're doing, how to put the pieces together more effectively. I think what we've been able to achieve so far is really very, very impressive, and people deserve a lot of credit who've worked on this every day, and we just need to continue to work on it to be that model.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'd like to personally thank our panelists for being here today. I appreciate your time and for a very interesting conversation. Thank you. Also, thank you to our guests in the audience and those joining us online. This webcast will be posted on the energytransition.msu.edu website. So thank you again for joining us, and go green.